parents still in the house.
My eyes popped up. This is real.
Now his best friend takes you inside the crime.
Dad wakes up from his nap.
He has to process that his son is holding a hammer. The woman he loves is laying on the floor.
A tug of war over who's in charge, and his parents plan to stop him until he stopped them first. Killer party. Plus, remember the headlines?
A high school sexual assault case.
The freshman cheerleader, the senior football player, and a hazy night of pass-out partying.
Everything after that was just black.
But no one has heard his side of the story until tonight. The interrogation tapes just released. You'll hear them only on 2020.
Did the girl you have sex with ever say she didn't want to?
And the party game you can do without a crowd. Teens trying the good kid high, but some don't survive.
It seems like a no-brainer. Why don't they understand that?
Tonight, when the party's over. Here now, Elizabeth Vargas.
Good evening. David is away on assignment. Tonight, what so many teenagers are doing right now across the country, having parties, some of them with alcohol, drugs, and in our first story, something else, revenge against controlling parents. For teenager Tyler Hadley, the party to end all parties began with these ominous words. When someone asked him, "What if your parents come home?" he said, "They won't. Trust me." Covering the case that just got a sentence days ago, here's ABC's Ryan Smith.
Nestled on Florida's Treasure Coast, 40 miles north of West Palm Beach, sits Port St. Lucie, a city once designed for retirees, now teeming with working families.
It's a maze of streets that all kind of wind together.
There's the sense on these empty streets that something's amiss. Even the street signs aren't quite right.
They didn't have time to spell all the street names correctly.
Growing up here is a modest sort of happiness for any kid, but as novelist Nathaniel Rich learned, that gets old.
Every teenager complained about how boring it was in Port St. Lucie. The only thing to do is drink and get high, have parties.
And it's a party that happened here that no one will ever forget.
Now you're looking live at the Port St. Lucie home where police say a 17-year-old boy killed his parents, a drug-addicted teenager who just wanted to party.
He threw a big party at his house. Only 2 people didn't show up, Mom and Dad. They couldn't come. They were locked in the bedroom. Dead.
The million-dollar question is why?
Tyler, they say you murdered your parents.
A 17-year-old killing his parents, an event that left a confused community looking to its teenagers for answers about high school senior Tyler Hadley.
His parents were getting tired of him going out late and getting drunk.
They got more strict. His mom took his phone away.
And he said he hated him.
Something like teenagers say.
It's definitely something that really upset him.
Everybody has like sick jokes, or he just thought it was like a sick joke.
But what turns a teenager's sick joke into a sickening reality? Tonight, we go inside the investigation into what made a Boy Scout turn into a teenager who did the unthinkable. Mike Mandel has known Tyler since they were both 8 years old. He lived just a block away. So you know his parents.
Absolutely.
What were they like?
They seemed like great parents to me.
And how did Tyler feel about his parents?
He loved them.
This is Blake and Mary Jo, forever in our hearts.
Blake and Mary Jo Hadley thought sunny Port St. Lucie was the perfect place to raise their 2 boys.
Mary Jo, she was a school teacher, great school teacher. And she loved kids so much, she dedicated her life to her two boys she had.
His family says Blake loved his job at a local power plant, but his passion was his sons, the baby, Tyler, and Ryan, 6 years older. What was Blake like with the boys?
He had a ball with them. He loved them.
And in the beginning, Tyler seemed to be a happy little boy, celebrating birthdays and holidays with his family.
He was constantly hugging his mom. I mean, constantly. He was an affectionate kid.
I just remember him always being a funny kid. He had a really quick sense of humor. Yeah. And you never know what would come out of his mouth.
Yeah. In a good way?
Sometimes.
It was a quality that drew Mike to Tyler.
Just walking around trying to find a friend and stumbled upon Tyler, and he slowly became my best friend.
Over time, Tyler began opening up, sharing with Mike his secrets and his insecurities.
He a lot of times bashed himself and said he wasn't good enough. He just always thought someone was better than him.
But what started as a kid's self-doubt turned into a teenager's anger.
He started skipping school, hanging out with the wrong crowd, getting on drugs. You know, that's just things he was starting to do, was get in trouble.
He was starting to steal, and they said just hide your purse. I just thought it was one of those teenage things.
Tyler's parents started cracking down. How did they discipline him?
They really did everything possible as far as taking away the cell phone, bits and pieces of freedom that children really cherish at that age.
But Tyler pushed back, continuing to defy his parents.
He didn't like following any rules. He liked going out, doing drugs. And then his parents caught on. He was already comfortable living that way, and he didn't want anyone to change it.
Nancy Grace has followed this case.
They were beginning to discipline him more and more. And by that, I don't mean take him out to the woodshed and give him a spanking. They would take away privileges. Well, Hadley would have none of that. His frustration and anger mounted.
By the time Tyler was 17, his parents were at their wits' end. They put him into an outpatient substance abuse program, but nothing changed.
He came home drunk one night, and he crawled through his window when his parents woke up, and then they took away his phone and his car. He felt that she was over-disciplining him, and he said he wanted to kill her.
Did it sound like he might actually do it?
Absolutely not.
And Tyler's parents were keeping a closer eye on him, taking him to a family reunion in Georgia just 1 week before life would change forever.
We really enjoyed having him. He was very polite. I never saw Tyler lose his temper, ever. That's what is so bizarre.
Posing for family pictures 1 minute, but plotting with his friends back home the next.
Well, he was texting his friends and telling them we're going to have a party when I get home. So he was planning it while he was up there.
And 3 days later, this ominous Facebook post. Party at my crib tonight. Maybe.
Tyler said he's gonna have a party tonight. My parents are going to Orlando.
A friend Facebooked him, "What about your parents? Are they going to come home in the middle of the party?" And Hadley writes back, "They won't. Trust me."
A party at Tyler's house seemed odd with his parents now tightening the reins, but it was something else he said that really got Mike's attention. He tells you something about what he did the night before.
Yeah, he said he was contemplating murdering them that night while they were sleeping in their bed. He said he couldn't do it. He didn't have it in him.
What did you think when he told you that?
I got a weird feeling in my stomach, but it's Tyler. There's no way he would do this.
Then, a few hours later, a second Facebook post. Party at my house. Hit me up. This time, there was no maybe. Tyler Hadley's house party was set.
He had been bragging about it for days. He was going to have the party come hell or high water. And nothing and nobody was going to get in his way.
One of my friends had gone on Facebook and seen the post about the party.
There was so little to do in Port St. Lucie that night that any teenager who heard about the party was going to check it out.
Around 9:30 p.m., Tyler picks up Mike and some other friends, and they head back to his house. Jesse DeRay is in the car.
When we were pulling up to Tyler's house, he said something real crazy is going to come out in the next week. I said, what do you mean? And he said, you'll find out.
Did you see any other family vehicles there?
Yeah, and I thought that was kind of strange that his mom's car was there too.
I asked him where his parents were, told me they were in Georgia.
It was a free-for-all. Kids could smoke inside the house. They were drinking. Kids were bringing beer and pot and pills.
What's it like inside?
Young people drinking and sitting around talking. But the weird thing was most people in there, Tyler didn't even know. I didn't know them. They were strangers.
You think he wanted to be known as having this huge party?
Maybe. That's the only thing that makes sense.
As the rowdy party rages on, a neighbor across the street makes a noise complaint.
I woke up to, squealing tires and kids hanging out of the car, yelling. So I did call 911.
Officers respond, but with no immediate cause for alarm, they leave the teens with a warning. When we come back, kids at the party are noticing there's something strange about this place, but only best friend Mike Mandel will discover how strange behind this door.
My eyes popped up. This is real.
Next.
When the Party's Over continues. Once again, Ryan Smith.
In Port St. Lucie, Florida, Tyler Hadley's house party is in full swing. 60 teenagers drinking and drugging with no parents in sight. Tyler's older brother Ryan away at college.
One kid was walking around saying, "I smell dead people." Other kids had seen some signs of blood or what could have been blood. The house was a mess. It looked like it had been ransacked.
As the night wears down, Tyler is growing agitated.
Do you recall him yelling at somebody trying to go back towards the back part of the house?
Yes. I heard him just saying, "Get out of the hallway. I don't want anyone in the hallway."
How does he seem?
He seems eager to tell me something, and he wants to take me down the street and talk.
All right, so you guys walk out the house. Tell me what happens now.
He says, "Mike, I killed my parents." And I said, "No, you didn't, Tyler. Shut up." And he said, "Mike, look at the driveway. All the cars are there. My parents are dead. I killed them."
And then, with partying teens still inside the house, Tyler tells Mike to look for the telltale signs. Blood by a computer desk where Mary Jo had been working, and by the master bedroom door. But still, Mike doesn't believe it.
I actually thought he went that far out to play a prank on me that he actually put fake blood on the ground.
Really? You think he's playing a prank at this point?
Anything but what it is.
The idea that teenagers are playing beer pong right here, while just steps away behind this door, his best friend's parents lay lifeless, is too much for Mike to fathom.
I took Tyler into the garage and I said, "I want to see them dead. If you really did it, I don't believe you."
Tyler says he'll prove it after everyone leaves, but Mike doesn't wait.
I walk around back and I go check for myself. I come up to the door, the party's going on over here, and I turn the doorknob, push it, and it opened. I looked down and I seen his father's leg against the door.
What was going through your mind when you saw his leg?
My eyes popped up and I said, "He's telling the truth. He did it. This is real." I'm in shock. I feel like there's no way that I'm seeing this. Wake up.
Then Mike Mandel does something as shocking as the party. He doesn't leave.
Now, you'd think Mandel would rush to call his parents or take his cell phone surreptitiously and call 911. No. Mandel continued to party hardy for several hours.
Why do you stay?
It's a hard feeling to explain. You know, I knew this guy for so long. If something wants you to stay here right now, you need to talk to Tyler and figure out as much stuff as you can.
How long do you stay?
A couple hours.
How do you do that? Isn't it eating you up inside?
It is eating me up inside. Even though you know he just killed 2 people, you don't see him as a killer.
You still see him as a friend at that point?
Yes.
Why not try to get Tyler out of the house immediately or call the cops? Because he could be a danger to everybody in that house, including you.
I was still in shock.
Then, in a bizarre moment between best friends, they take this selfie. And I have to show you something here. Why did you take this picture?
Because I knew it was going to be the last time I ever seen him.
So this was to remember him?
Yeah.
A lot of people look at this picture and they say, Mike's callous. He doesn't care. What do you say to those people?
Look at the picture. Am I smiling? Is Tyler smiling? He looks very worried to me, and he looks very scared.
And how do you look in this picture?
I look like that this is the worst day of my life. I knew I was going to call the cops on him when I took that picture.
In shock and unable to keep it to himself, Mike tells another friend.
And he showed me blood splatter on the baseboard.
Baseboard?
Near his parents' bedroom.
What did you do?
I basically told him that I was getting the hell out of there. I was like, "I'm leaving, you can come with me."
Mike is still reluctant to leave his best friend, but when he finally does, Tyler is quick to notice.
Tyler calls me on my cell phone and he said, "Mike, where'd you go? You know, the party's still happening." And I said, "Tyler, I'm tired, it's 4 in the morning, I'm going to sleep." And he said, "Okay, man, well, I'm having a party tomorrow, are you gonna come?" And I said, "Yeah, I'll be there."
This is a party Tyler never wants to end. And at 4:40 a.m., he posts on Facebook, "Party at my house. Again, hit me up." But Mike Mandel won't be there.
And immediately after I hang up the phone, I called Crime Stoppers.
We got a call from our call center, and he's claiming he killed his parents. So he did what to his parents? He's claiming that he killed his parents.
What were you thinking as you're making that call?
It wasn't a good feeling, but I still knew that I had to do the right thing.
And the friend Mike told calls police too.
Did something to his parents.
Did he hurt them? Are they still alive?
My understanding of it was that he killed them. Like, the bodies are supposed to be at his house. I don't think it's a joke. The kids I spoke to who were at the party were shocked that they had been at a murder scene, but they also thought it was pretty cool that they'd been at this famous party.
There had been a homicide. A 17-year-old young man had killed his parents with a hammer.
What was your first thought?
First thought is, no, 17-year-olds don't kill their parents with hammers.
When Detective Kristen Meyer arrives on the scene in the wee hours of the morning, remnants of the party are still apparent.
We find beer bottles everywhere. They're all over the front yard.
You come up, here's the door.
The officers knock on the door.
Knock on the door.
Lights go out. So one officer gets cover and starts calling for backup. And this officer here, the door opens, and there stands Tyler.
When we come back,
she grabbed her head and said, "Why, Tyler, why?"
It's the question everyone wants answered. Why did Tyler snap? Was it a threat, a final ultimatum from his parents that pushed Tyler too far?
That's your motive for the murder.
Stay with us.
"2020 continues. Once more, Ryan Smith.
At dawn, when police arrive at Tyler Hadley's house, the party is over. Officers see Tyler alone inside, pacing back and forth.
And they creep up to this window because they can peek in.
What kind of state was he in at that point?
They talked about the look on his face. One officer describes it as deranged.
Officers ask where his parents are.
He said they're out of town, they're in West Palm Beach. He's placed in handcuffs, and the officers go in and search.
Inside the master bedroom, they find what looks more like a garbage pit than a place where Tyler's parents slept just 24 hours before. The room is packed with items from all over the house: furniture, magazines, pictures, food. Mom's Good Housekeeping magazine, homework from her students, a family calendar. Underneath, investigators find the bodies of Blake and Mary Jo Hadley. It's the darkest turn possible for a Saturday that began with ordinary errands for the Hadleys. A trip to the local farmer's market, a visit to a dress shop. They were back home early afternoon. His father taking a nap, his mother at the computer. Tyler told his best friend Michael Mandel that to psych himself up, he listened to the Lil Boozy song Feel Lucky.
Got it on your mind, won't you feel lucky?
Then he grabbed a hammer.
He said he stood behind his mother for 5 minutes while she was on the computer trying to figure out whether or not he should hit her or not, and then at some point he hit her.
Mary Jo's screams woke his father. He rushed to the doorway and was stunned by what he saw.
And he couldn't even move. And Tyler said he ran up to his father, hit him, and his father asked him why he's doing this, and he said, "Why the not?"
Tyler told him that he then dragged his parents' bodies to their bedroom, then spent hours cleaning up the blood, stripping the walls, leaving empty hooks where family photos once hung, adding them to the pile. At some point during all of this, Tyler makes that post on Facebook that the party is on. He uses his parents' ATM card to withdraw $400 in cash and buys beer for the party.
At the party, he's having a great time. He's playing round after round after round of beer pong. He's laughing, he's joking, he's planning a party for the next night.
The prosecutor assigned to the case, Tom Bakadal, tries to make sense of the grisly murders.
This is not your kid from the wrong side of the tracks. This is not your kid who was raised in an abusive, violent family, and these parents gave him everything.
Investigators find evidence that points to premeditation. For months, Tyler repeatedly talked about killing his parents to his friends.
His mom took his phone away, and he said he was going to kill her.
He said something about, I'm going to kill my parents.
I just specifically remember him saying, "I'm going to kill my parents."
He just said it with a smile, so that's why no one took it too serious.
But no one knew just how calculating their friend was. He hid his parents' cell phones before killing them, and with no landline, he knew they couldn't call for help. Less than a month before he was to face trial, Tyler pleaded no contest, leaving a controversial question: his punishment. He could be protected by a recent Supreme Court decision, which ruled that for juveniles, life in prison without parole is unconstitutional. But prosecutors argue that with a crime so heinous, Tyler should never see the light of day.
He has sentenced the whole family to life.
But Tyler's defense team argues that Tyler was mentally ill.
The major depressive disorder.
He had issues with anxiety and depression.
He was suicidal.
And low self-esteem.
He was drinking heavily and abusing drugs.
It was not one thing alone. It was the deadly combination of them all.
But the counter to this would be a lot of people have disorders, take drugs, some even take illegal drugs, his choice, yet they don't kill their parents.
What I think is one of the most important factors is the juvenile brain. The juvenile brain does not fully develop until the age of 25.
But the prosecutor says Tyler, just 153 days shy of his 18th birthday, should be treated as an adult.
The state's president. This is not a youthful act of indiscretion.
As for the motive, could it really just be the party? The prosecutor poured through messages Tyler exchanged with his friends for clues. In them, Tyler complains about the outpatient rehab program he's in, writing, "I seriously hate that for real."
But ultimately, we think that what happened was that the parents had threatened to put him into a full-blown inpatient program to commit him.
Institutionalized at a home for troubled teens. You're going to take away what I want to do, and I don't like it.
Right. That's your motive for the murder.
The decision over Tyler's fate has ripped the family in two. Mary Jo's mother, Tyler's grandmother, hoping for parole.
I just want Tyler not to spend the rest of his life in jail because I know he's a life worth saving.
But for his father's family, like Mike and Cindy Hadley, forgiving their nephew is out of the question.
This is a cold-blooded murderer that we're talking about here. Yeah, he's my nephew, and I love him, all right? There's only one sentence, it's life in prison.
You don't think there's any way he could rehabilitate himself and be a productive member of society?
Do you want him living with you if he got out?
Mike's concern now entirely for Tyler's brother Ryan.
That's the person that we need to feel sorry for. He lost his entire family. You know, he lost 3 people, his mom and dad and his brother.
Could you state your name, please?
Ryan Blake Hadley.
Do you love your brother still?
I do love my brother.
Do you hurt for your brother still?
Yeah, I hurt for my brother.
But that love for his baby brother has its bounds.
Under what circumstances would you like to maintain this relationship with your brother?
What I want is for him to get the maximum penalty possible.
Mr. Hadley?
Finally, Tyler speaks publicly about the crime, but offers little insight.
I'd like to direct this to my entire family. All of them. Everyone. All of them. And I know it's hard to understand, and you can't begin to explain, what happened. I just want everyone to know that I am truly sorry for the acts I committed.
The judge was unmoved. 2 weeks ago, he made his decision.
It is hereby the judgment and sentence of the court. The defendant be sentenced to life without the possibility of parole.
No one wants to see a youth behind bars, but in this case, he murdered both of his parents. A colder heart I've never seen.
If he were here today, if you could speak to him directly right now, what would you say to him?
Well, of course I'd ask the question, why? I might ask him, you miss your mom and dad? Didn't they mean anything to you? Was it worth it? Are you happy now? I hope that party was worth it.
You've just seen Tyler Hadley's grandmother on the stand saying he has a life worth saving. Do you agree? Should he have a chance at parole? Tell us on Twitter using the hashtag ABC2020. We'll be right back.
Next, a 14-year-old, a high school senior, and what really happened during that drunken party.
They kind of egged me on to drink from this really tall shot glass.
But now, his version. All new texts and interrogation tapes just released to 2020.
You had sex in your room.
When we return.
It is the high school he said, she said that rocked a small town about a night of partying, drinking, and sex that made national headlines. We've heard her version of what went on, but tonight for the very first time, his version. That senior high school football player on interrogation tapes just obtained by 2020. Will hearing his words change what you think about the story or outrage you even more? Here's Matt Gutman.
You have the right to remain silent.
This is 17-year-old Matt Barnett sitting in a police interrogation room.
Did you understand his rights as I've explained them to you? Yes,
And this is Daisy Coleman, whose life changed forever because of what happened between them. Two teens facing tough repercussions for a night of mistakes.
You had a lot of young people that made a lot of bad decisions, and they ended up getting caught.
14-year-old Daisy Coleman.
Sexual assault charges.
A high school sexual assault case is making headlines once again.
The pair were at the center of an alcohol-fueled teenage sex scandal that gripped the nation and divided a community.
Bad judgment calls for everyone.
Daisy is the face you almost never see, the teenage victim shedding anonymity to speak out.
I really wish more girls would tell their story.
It all began in Maryville, Missouri, an all-American town full of cows and cornfields, where football is king and its players royalty. And perhaps none more popular than Matt Barnett, a tall, broad-shouldered defensive end for the Maryville Spoofhounds. Cheering him on, a beaming and bubbly 14-year-old Daisy. The two began exchanging texts. She's a freshman, Matt is senior in the cool crowd of athletes, along with Daisy's oldest brother, Charlie. Here they are together at prom. But Charlie was concerned with all that flirty texting.
I told him, I was like, quit texting my sister.
He didn't stop texting your sister?
No. And I told her to stop. And I was like, you're my little sister. He hangs out with me. That's so messed up. You can't be talking to him. Well, she didn't listen.
No, Daisy didn't. Something she would later regret. One frigid January evening, Daisy was having a sleepover with her friend, a 13-year-old girl named Paige.
She just came over, we started watching scary movies.
They say they also started drinking, sneaking alcohol from Daisy's mother's closet.
I was in high school and everyone was already doing it, so I was like, oh, I might as well try this.
That night, Daisy was also texting Matt. Here, for the first time, are some of those messages. The pair arranging to meet. I'm drunk. Ha ha. LOL. You want to come drink with me and chill? Oh my God. Sweet.
And he asked to hang out, so we snuck out of my house around 1, and he drove us to his house, and he had to sneak us through his basement window.
And into Matt's bedroom, seen here. Also at the house were 4 other popular boys, among them some of Charlie's best friends.
Those were the guys I was with every single day.
You could have trusted them like a brother, and you hoped that you could have trusted them with your sister.
Yeah, I hoped.
They kind of egged me on to drink from this really tall shot glass.
These are some of the photos of the aftermath of the party obtained by ABC News. Trash, empty plastic cups, and a bottle of Bacardi. The boys at the party that night estimate that Daisy drank 5 to 10 shots in a 15-minute span.
Everything after that was just black, and that's all I remember.
She might not remember, but Matt does. This video, Matt's police interrogation, is the first time ever we get to hear from Matt Barnett himself.
Did she ever say she didn't want to have sex with you?
His words providing new key clues in what could have happened that night between him and Daisy.
So you had sex in your room?
This was before she started drinking at my house.
Central to the case, the timing of exactly when Daisy downed all those drinks.
Was she drunk out of her mind?
When I was with her, whenever I had sex now.
Matt Barnett tells police their sex was consensual and that Daisy only drank to excess afterwards.
When you picked her up at her house, was she drunk?
I won't say drunk, I'd say buzzed. Yeah, buzzed.
Then you took her home, you and her talked, you had sex.
Yeah.
Then she came out after having sex, wanted to have another shot.
Yeah.
A critical point in the investigation that followed, because in Missouri, a 14-year-old girl cannot consent to sex if she is incapacitated. And tonight, never-before-heard accounts from the other boys present that night, like Jordan Zek.
And then they went back in the bedroom and had sex again.
No, Matt said he didn't have sex with her the second time. He said he couldn't get a
Paige, who was waiting in another room, describes her friend Daisy as completely wasted and couldn't even walk.
They just started panicking a lot, saying, how are we going to get her dropped off without her brothers waking up, without them hearing us? And so they brought us back to the house and dropped her off and then just put her in the yard. And they told me to go back inside and that she'd be fine. She just had to sober up.
All the while, Melinda Coleman thought her daughter was safely asleep in bed all night long. It was 5 a.m. when Daisy was discovered.
The dog started barking, which woke Mom up.
And she had just sweatpants and a t-shirt on. It was 22 degrees. Her hair was wet and frozen.
And then I was woken up to, Charlie, wake up, Charlie, there's something wrong.
Daisy had been abandoned on the lawn for almost 3 hours, wearing no shoes or socks.
It was terrifying, and I couldn't understand why she was outside.
Melinda says she thought maybe Daisy had been sleepwalking, but when she put Daisy in the bathtub to warm her up, she noticed marks on her body.
I asked her if she was hurting, and she kind of said yes and started crying.
So my brother and I went in the yard and found the phone. Started reading these messages from Maddie.
Did you instantly know what happened?
I instantly knew there was something going on. The last message on there was, "I'll be there in a minute." And I was so mad.
And then I took her into the emergency room. The doctor said that she had been raped, and it was definitely my worst fears. As a mom, it just hurt so much, and you want to take the pain away. And I think I knew what she was going to go through.
Barnett was arrested for sexual assault, and to Melinda's dismay, the charges were quickly dropped. And Daisy's life began to completely unravel. She was suspended from cheerleading after admitting to drinking and was bullied at school.
People would generally just yell stuff, like they would yell liar or the S word, or they would call me the W word.
Things got so bad, the Colemans say they were forced to move. But that didn't stop the digital onslaught.
Stuff on Facebook and Twitter was just unbelievable, so horrible, saying stuff like, "Why don't you slit your wrists?"
I began self-harming, and I was very suicidal, and I really started to hate myself.
Daisy was down, but her mom, Melinda, wouldn't let her be silenced. They embarked on a national media campaign.
And I think they need to let him pay at least some price and some punishment so he can learn.
Justice for Daisy!
And Melinda ignited a firestorm back home, trying to get justice for Daisy and for other girls afraid to speak out.
Supporters held daisies and lit candles to represent the alleged victim.
A special prosecutor was brought in to take a fresh look at the case and those previously sealed interrogation tapes.
How long do you think you and her were in the bedroom together?
15, 20 minutes.
And after a 10-week investigation, this past January, the final word.
Today, Mr. Burnett pled guilty to endangering the welfare of a child in the second degree.
That was for leaving Daisy on her lawn. But as for rape charges,
there was insufficient evidence to go forward on a sexual assault.
Vindication for Matt Barnett, cleared by 2 independent investigations. Proof, he says, that he did not sexually assault Daisy.
Did the girl you have sex with ever say she didn't want to? Did she ever say she did?
Yeah, she did.
As for Daisy, she tells us she's happy. Now a junior at a new high school and looking to put that whole ordeal behind her.
When something bad happens in life, no one stops. Life keeps going. And I think that's something I just had to learn.
Those new tapes you just heard about were all about the timing of the drinking. Are you persuaded by the tapes? Do you think that that football player is telling the truth? We're live tweeting tonight, so let us know at #ABC2020. We'll be right back.
Coming up next, getting high without drugs, the so-called good kid high.
How did I miss this? It seems insane to me that kids would choke themselves for fun.
Next on When the Party's Over.
Valentine's Day 7 weeks ago, when a mother should be so excited about her son coming home from middle school, bragging about how many cards he got or who his secret admirers might be. Instead, Christina Fields got a 911 call that would plunge her into an underground she could not imagine, of teenagers looking for what's been called the good kid high. This week, I sat down with a mother who is still desperate for answers.
3 minutes. What can you do in 3 minutes?
Listen to your favorite song.
Check Facebook.
Kill millions of brain cells.
Because that's what happens if you play the choking game.
The choking game is all over the internet, but it's not a game. Even after years of battling the problem and online awareness campaigns, we are still seeing this, what looks like do-it-yourself videos on YouTube.
Today, I'm going to choke myself.
This boy climbs a makeshift gallows. Seconds later, he is coughing and holding his throat.
How did I miss this? Seriously, because apparently it's been around for a really, really long time. It seems insane to me that kids would choke themselves for fun.
There you go, you got it.
With the new baby, this should be a happy time for Christina Fields. She's an Army mom. Her husband, Dana, is a soldier. Stationed at Fort Carson, Colorado, they are raising 5 children. But next to the majesty of Pikes Peak in the Rockies, a senseless tragedy. 7 weeks ago, her oldest child, 13-year-old Louis, is found on the floor of his middle school bathroom, unconscious. His mother gets the call.
And I was like, is my son okay? And there was a brief pause, but it was the longest pause. And she was like, 911's been called, we need you here right away.
They rush Louis to the hospital, but there is nothing they can do.
And I just kept praying that I would just wake up because this is not real. Like, I just saw him this morning. I gave him a hug and a kiss and I sent him to school. You're supposed to come home from school. And I was like, what the hell happened? Like, what could happen at school? And they were like, he hung himself with a belt. I was like it was just a normal Friday thing to do. Like, okay.
The Army says its investigation is still active, but the death certificate says it was suicide. And Christina believed it at first. But it was strange. Louis didn't seem depressed to her. He was grounded, but here he is in a home video the night before he died, joking around as usual.
Louis cannot move from this spot.
He didn't leave a note. And another odd detail from the day he died.
From what I was told from the investigators, he asked a friend to go with him to the bathroom.
To commit suicide?
That's my exact question.
And then, the day of the funeral, Christina finds a stunning voicemail on her phone. It is from Louis.
And when I scrolled down, I saw his name. And I was like, what?
A month before he died, Louis had unknowingly pocket-dialed his mother. It's hard to hear, but Christina says one terrifying telltale word jumps out. Choke.
You started choking again.
Did you have any doubt in your mind after listening to that accidental voice message that that's